All right, so today I'm making a video about something I don't really ever do, and that is letting a subscriber send me their computer to look at and see what's going on. The issues with this computer are so bizarre that I was intrigued enough to say, yes, you can send it to me for us to look at. And the reason why I called it Satan's computer is that's what Andrew, his name, called it. The title of the email was Satan's computer. So this is a build that he made, and he's been having all kinds of weird issues with it. So first of all, the specs. It's a Ryzen 5600X with the EVGA 3070 for the Win 3 Ultra right there. G-Skill Trident Z Neo. The Neo is an AMD spec RAM, so that's a good match right there. 16 gigabytes of 3600 CL16. An ROG Strix B550F Wi-Fi 2 and Asus Prime X570 Pro. Why is he giving me two different motherboards? I guess that's because he had it RMA'd. That's what's in there now. He originally started with the ROG B550 Strix, Corsair RM850 PSU, a Western Digital Black SN 750 2TB NVMe, and Windows 10. He's been having various games crash. Not all games. So this is what started to really kind of get my attention here. He basically told me the troubleshooting steps he's already gone through, which is including RMA'd two motherboards. That's why there's two different boards like listed here. And he's RMA'd the GPU. He has not, he's swapped out the memory and the CPU. Now I don't know what that means by swapped out, because I don't know if that means he just had another one on hand, went and bought another one or what, but it's a different set of memory and it's a different CPU than when these problems initially started. He's DDU'd several times. That's display driver uninstaller, which we've done a video about, and how to completely wipe all traces of drivers if you start having these weird types of issues. He's wiped the drive and reinstalled the OS 2 separate times. He's used 10 plus different drivers. He says, you name it, I probably tried it. I don't know what to do anymore after they break the system down and sell the damn parts now. Buy my buddy's pre-built so I can have a PC that I paid for. So I basically, after we agreed and had some conversation back and forth about what the expectations would be here, and I was like, you assume all responsibility of shipping and any potential damage and stuff, and he's covering shipping both ways. I'll make a video and try and figure out the problem. So the games that are crashing consistently, Apex Legends, he does at least put the crash report on here, like what the actual error code is and how long it took to crash, which is very important. Because I told him, I said, as somebody that worked in software development, QA and QC, reproduction steps are key. You can't just say, hey, a computer's crashing, can you fix it? I need details on exactly what you were doing when it crashed. So he provided those here. Squad's another game that continues to crash, although that one looks like he can play for as long as 30 minutes before it crashes. Call of Duty Warzone, I said Vanguard, but Warzone is one that's consistently crashing on him. Now, Call of Duty is a game that's been consistently crashing on everybody. So if he was just telling me, hey, Warzone keeps crashing, I'd be like, join the club. But with the Apex and Squad crashing, that's something to keep in mind here. The new SkyTube mid-tower case from Montech features improved direct airflow with fine mesh intakes, 3 pre-installed RX120 ARGB fans, supports motherboards all the way up to EATX while supporting top-mounted 360 radiators, and even fits the largest 40 series GPUs on the market, all while not breaking the bank. To see the full list of features, follow the sponsored link in the description below. So the first thing we need to do right now is I need to monitor what's happening with the system. I was already having a conversation before this video, leaning towards, I think the drive may be part of the problem here. But there's other indicators that your drive could be failing that I'm not seeing here. That is system hangs, that is slowdowns, that is restarts that won't restart and the system just hangs on boot until the computer sits for a while and then will start, which would indicate an overheating drive that's cooling back down. We saw that with the Fury X drive that we nicknamed the Fiery X drive because it was getting so hot with the LED system in there that it eventually would hang and overheat the controller and the NAND and it just wouldn't boot. So I'm not seeing that though. But first things first, let's start with Apex Legends. That seems to be one that crashes within a minute. I am monitoring things like temperatures here. Let's leave this up in logging and let's just open up Apex Legends. Launch the game, went into firing range. Okay, so all these crashes are taking place in firing range. This is good because I don't want to go play online on his account. Okay, how do we go into the firing range?
I think you see down on the bottom left where it's...
Oh, okay, there we go. So that is a DXGI error, device removed. The video card has been physically removed from the system, or a driver update for the video card has occurred. The application should destroy and recreate the device. What? The application should destroy and recreate the device. That seems extreme. So he was getting 006. So he was also getting that 005, DXGI error down here when playing squad. And I just want to relaunch here. This is now where we have to start change one thing and look for an effect. If we change too much, we won't know what did what. DXGI is specifically graphics, and it even said it was disconnected. So the motherboard was changed. So that kind of rules out a bad PCI Express slot or something there. What I thought was interesting is that it happened pretty quickly after changing the resolution. And it also did it inside the menu, not even the game. I think it's gonna do it. Yep, there it goes. Device hung. The application's device failed to do badly formed commands sent by the application. This is a design timeout issue that should be investigated and fixed. It's funny, that's the same error code, but it's a different description. I kind of want to underclock the card real quick and see, because 1935, that's a pretty high boost. Typically, they'll go to like the high 18s, like 1875 on 30 series cards. Actually, you know, I'm going to download EVGA Precision X1, because what's going to happen when I install this too is it's going to update the firmware on the graphics card. I don't see this being an issue, but it's an easy free step to rule out before we start throwing parts at the problem. Okay, so it did not see that it needs a firmware update, which is, oh, boost lock. Yeah, so it is, this BIOS is going to 1935 on boost lock. This is what's nice about Precision X2 is you can click boost lock, which just forces it to go to the P1 state, which is going to go to its fastest clock speed that the BIOS will allow regardless, and just stick it there, which is kind of nice to see. I'm going to turn off hardware monitoring because I don't want multiple things monitoring. That's never good. I am going to downclock this 100 megahertz right now. Fine, 120. Let's just see if downclocking it matters. There it goes. All right, so what I'm gonna try here now is I want to now run this in a compatibility mode. So I'm gonna go properties, compatibility, and I've had this fix problems before. We're also gonna run as administrator. Apply, okay. We're gonna do that for this one too. This should never be something anyone should ever have to do. Yeah, there it goes again. I'm just cranking the fans right now to see if that makes a difference. It really shouldn't. They were never getting hotter than like, the core was not getting hotter than like 57. It's the longest we've seen it go yet. There it goes. Okay. Okay, so Sandstorm is working exactly as expected. Okay, let's now start looking at the BIOS. I think the first thing we need to start with is disabling DOCP. I might try moving the RAM sticks over to the other slots. XMP is not even on. Okay, I don't think this is gonna matter. Holy cow, that's tight. I'm gonna remove one of the sticks of RAM, and then I'm gonna move the slots that they're in. It may not seem like it's related, but everything your computer does goes through the RAM. I made it to the rocks last time. All right, so we just swapped out the card with one of my 3070s, just a basic 3070. That's the one that was a launch edition card, so it's really old. By really old, I mean like, you know, it's the first one that came out. This was, and I'm starting my timer. This was obviously a later rendition because I don't recall them having this white, like glowing top right here. I remember them being like that metallic-y look, but I never had a 3070 for the win, so maybe the 3070s are always that way. But I don't see any physical damage on here. I can try swapping the BIOS, see if the BIOS got corrupted somehow on this. Because we're not crashing now. I'm 3 minutes in. I think it's safe to say it's not anything else, it's just the card. EVGA fortunately has one of the best reputations when it comes to RMA replacements and program, but EVGA doesn't want to send you a refurb card if they can help it. I think most people would rather keep their own card even if it was quote unquote repaired, you know? But I'm gonna put his card back in and I'm gonna swap the BIOS. If it does the same thing, then I'm going to update the firmware. But I am on a different BIOS now. It's the nice thing about dual BIOS switch card is the fact that you have something to compare it against. This is a single BIOS card right here, so I would have had nothing to compare it with. If the problem persists with this BIOS, then we'll do a firmware flash. If it persists again, then we know it's a bad card. It started me in a different spot, and there it goes. Okay, cool. Bad commands. Well, we know the application is not sending bad commands. All right, so what I did was I reached out to my contacts at EVGA and actually had them send me a firmware updater. No display adapters were found that are compatible with this update. That's not a good sign. Okay, round two. It's funny. At the exact moment I realized like that BIOS isn't, that firmware isn't working, I got a text from EVGA that said that, wait, that's for the non-LHR card. Let me get you the LHR one, which it's funny that that all came in exactly as we figured it out. So they sent us another one here. Let's see if this works. He says it might still take a minute because there's like 3 or 4 different PCB variants for the LHR card with that exact same number, that model number. So anyway, yes. Doesn't match. Yay, that one matches. Okay, so 4080 is what I think the BIOS ended in. Whatever, it'll be pretty obvious which one it is, if it's a different number or not. I don't know if we're reflashing the same firmware, but even then, I don't think that would necessarily be a problem, just to sort of rule it out. Restart system. I'm not even convinced it's gonna fix the problem. Okay, going back to the firing range. If this one doesn't crash, that'd be a good sign, but then we also would have to test Warzone. Warzone has a whole other reason for crashing though. Oh, this one crashed even sooner. We have to do the inverse now. We now know by putting a known good card in the system and having it work fine, we now need to take the bad card out of the system and put it in another system and see if the problem persists. If it does, then we know it's the card. If it doesn't, I am literally stumped at that point, considering the fact that replacing the card fixed the problem in this machine. Well, I installed it on the test bench and then we let Apex Legends install and then we went and played Rocket League while we were waiting for it to install and I came back to this. Completely locked up. But anyway, I did talk to EVGA. We will be getting them to look at this card if the owner of this system wants me to. I'm sure he would want me to. But yeah, the other system wasn't crashing at the desktop, but then again, we never really let it sit there at the desktop like that. And this had Steam going and Steam does render like stuff. Okay, now we can compare this card with Apex Legends in a completely problem-free system. Okay. I'm gonna think about this and we'll finish this tomorrow. Okay, so admittedly it's been a couple of days later and where we left off here, and this is more of a reminder for myself, even though you guys just watched it happen, the 3070 that he has worked perfectly fine in my test rig with no crashing. The weird clue here is the fact that my 3070 works fine in this rig with no crashing. And so that leads me to believe a couple of things. I've done some research in the time that has elapsed here between then and now on what is the GXDI or DXGI error. It is specifically a DX12 error that's happening here. And I've seen a lot of different workarounds and band-aids on how to fix the solution, but what I see a lot of people doing is they'll do a reg edit, which I believe he did, because he did say in his list of things he did was reg edit. He didn't say exactly what the edit was, but that the problem was still occurring, obviously, as you saw. A lot of folks who did the reg edit, specifically for working around the DXGI error, is a lot of folks were saying it was just a band-aid, where instead of the game crashing now, the whole Windows would crash or something like that. But a lot of people also said, hey, this fixed my problem. But I don't want to go right to the reg edit, only because he said he did. What I want to try right now first, this might seem like a shot out in left field, but it was some suggestions that I was seeing, is reinstall the C++ redistributables. All right, so this time it crashed before I even got into the firing range. It was in the middle of loading it. The application should destroy and recreate the device. We just imagined the card going. It's not a full-on crash because the system is still working perfectly fine. Okay, this is officially the farthest I've ever gotten in the. You can't make this shit up.
You really can.
Okay, I'm going to there's an update waiting. I'm gonna go ahead and let that finish, and then I'm gonna put different RAM in here. I'm trying, I'm literally trying everything I can think of to fix this guy's system for him, and it's very frustrating that a different graphics card is working fine. I'm gonna take off my glasses, my eyes actually are hurting from this whole build. Okay, I gotta put them back on because one eye power is stronger than the other, so when I took them off, I think the world went because they were adjusted. Okay, we're good. Nope. Okay, well, that's comforting and not comforting at the same time. So I'm gonna put his RAM back in there before I forget. Everything leads to saying this card is bad until I put it in my system and it doesn't crash. Why you do this? All right, so here we go. New C++ installed 2015 through 2022. It's only had 2010 installed. It shouldn't matter. There it goes. All right, so that didn't matter. Well, the only thing left to do that I can think of right now is a fresh Windows install, which is fine because this is a fresh install for him already. There's no data he's gonna lose. I've just gotta rule that out. Otherwise, we have to lean to, there's something wrong with that card that's only popping up in whatever this configuration of software and hardware is. Okay, we're all in the same hardware. The difference is we are installed using my media, my ISO, my everything. So if it's gonna crash, I think it would be in the train. There it goes. I don't know. I just don't know at this point. Like, GPU is the only thing I can go with because putting another GPU in takes away any of the problems. So if it was an API level problem, then it would be independent from the GPU. So this is just a bad GPU. Now, fortunately, I've already reached out to EVGA about getting another 3070 for the Win3 to test. And just, if it works, then maybe we'll give him that one. But that's kind of it for today. There's nothing else that I can do. It's just something wrong on this card. Maybe it could be a bad VRAM chip on it or something. I don't know. But if you guys have experienced the DXGI error, maybe you can comment down below as something you think we should try. Because ultimately, this is a subscriber's PC. I want to try and get it fixed for him. I cannot give him one of my cards because I do not have hardly any 30 series cards left that we use in here just for testing purposes now, so I can't give any of those up. And this was a retail purchase card, so it carries a warranty and everything already for it that we can use to get it all up and running. But it's really unfortunate that the card is bad, but I think now at least we have an answer, which was the whole point of this video, which I guess at this point shows the DX errors like this are caused by hardware. It's just, I don't know. I guess this could have been figured out already during the RMA process, but again, this card worked in another system, so I just passed that. I cannot answer the question. I'd just rather put a card in here that I know is working and isn't crashing in this system and call it a day. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I've spent a lot of time on this so far, and it's about as much as I can afford to spend at the moment, but I will continue to try and get it fixed. Probably won't do a quote unquote follow-up video on it. I might do a community post with the final resolution, but that's it. So thanks for watching. Sound off down below if you guys have experienced this problem or are experiencing this problem and what you guys have done to try and resolve it. See you in the next one.